So after we finish peeling and washing the turnips very well, then this is a process we're going to use. We're going to sterilize our jars and lids. We're going to then cold pack the prepared turnips into the jars. We're going to cover the turnips in the jars with boiling water. We're going to add a half teaspoon of salt to each pint jar. If we were using quarts, we'd use a teaspoon of salt. We're going to place the jars in the canner with 2 to 3 inches of hot water. It doesn't have to be boiling with the cold pack, but we do want it to be hot. Put the lid, the pressure canner lid on, and be careful, be sure you've washed the gasket well and it's placed securely where it's supposed to be in the lid of the pressure cooker. We're going to cover the pot, put the lid on, and bring it to a boil. When the steam starts escaping from the steam vent, let it escape for 10 minutes. And then at that time, add the vent cover or petcock on the pressure canner that I'm using. This is what the petcock looks like. It's got several different holes around the side, and that determines what the how many pounds of pressure that the pressure canner will produce. So we're going to place it so that we've got 10 pounds of pressure. Alright, then the pressure will build back up and the petcock will start to jiggle or rock. Some of them do different things. This one kind of jiggles. And then you reduce the heat just a little bit and you process, like I said, at 10 pounds for 30 minutes for the pint jars, and if you were using quarts, you'd process for 35 minutes. But if at any time during the process your petcock stops making the noise, you'll know that the pressure is down, and what you need to do is bring the pressure back up. Turn your fire up a little bit, bring the pressure back up, and start the timing all over again. You don't just continue from the point that it stopped, but instead you start the timing procedure all over, and so that it has to be processed for 30 minutes straight. Okay, so then when the 30 minutes is up, you remove it from the heat, however you have to do it. If you have a gas stove, all you have to do is turn the burner off. And that's better because you don't really want to be moving that hot pot. But if your stove is electric, then you will need to remove it from the eye, because the eye doesn't cool right away on an electric stove, as you know. Alright, when it's cool, when the pot cools down on its own, you don't want to try to speed up the process by running the pot under cold water or anything. I've seen people do that. As a matter of fact, I have too, back years ago, before I learned that that's not something you really want to do. This whole process is designed so that your food is safe when the process is over, and that includes the cool down process. So however long that takes, you just need to wait until it cools down on its own. Now when you start to remove you think it's cooled and the pressure down, and you start to take the petcock off, if a little steam escapes, put it back on and let it continue with the cool down process. Okay, so when it is cool and you take the petcock off, then you let it sit for 10 more minutes before you remove the lid. Then After the 10 minutes has passed, you can remove the lid, and very carefully, because the jars will still be hot. And you don't want to disturb the lids either, so use a pair of tongs designed for canning, and lift the jars carefully out onto a prepared area. I keep a thick towel folded on a countertop somewhere, a place where I won't have to disturb them. They need to sit undisturbed for somewhere between 12 and 24 hours. Same as jelly or any other canned food. You need to let them sit for a while before you move them. Now, in canned foods, you would need to eventually, after it's cooled down, remove the rings, because if you store them with the rings on, sometimes the rings will rust. Now, if you're going to gift them or move them anywhere, leave the rings on until they're where they can be stored. But you do need to remove the lids, pardon me, not the lids, but the rings before they're stored, the food is stored. And it should be good for several years, I'd say up to 5 years at least. However, I have eaten food that had been canned probably 10 years before, and it was perfectly good. But there are indicators that let you know that there's something wrong if the food has gone bad or there's some problem. So, if you want detailed step-by-step information on the canning process, please take a look at my video on canning greens. That's the entire process for you to see. So, thank you very much for stopping by, and if you found this video to be helpful, please like and subscribe. Thanks again. Hope to see you later.